ambitious goal, but I believe the things we're announcing today will put us in good shape moving towards that goal.
Breaking news today, Governor Jay Inslee announced a goal to get to 45,000 COVID-19 vaccinations every day in Washington state. That is more than double the number of vaccinations the state has available today. Right now, there are about 13 to 15,000 available vaccines a day statewide. In order to move in the direction of 45,000 daily vaccinations, Governor Inslee made 6 announcements. Effective today, Washington is moving to phase 1B of vaccinations. Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us for First News at 4. I'm Tim Pham. Whitney and Tom are off today. Big news for Eastern Washington. The governor says the state is also going to set up large-scale vaccination sites statewide, and one of those will be right here in Spokane. The others will be in Benton, Wenatchee, and Clark counties. Governor Inslee's announcement today will help the state move closer to 45,000 vaccinations a day. Now, Inslee is calling on more federal help to get more people in Washington vaccinated. Now, of course, the biggest news for our area, Spokane will now be a mass vaccination site. But what does that actually entail? Our Casey Decker is live in the newsroom now with the latest. Casey?
Well, Tim, I'm sure it's something a lot of people go to a pharmacy or hospital to get vaccinated. Why not just have a big centralized vaccination site? Well, like you said, we're about to have several throughout the state of Washington.
We are now moving from a limited number of Washingtonians to a rather broad scale where mass vaccinations are now possible, called for, and are going to be implemented.
So here's what we know about those sites. One, of course, we are getting one here in Spokane. That'll be at the arena. The governor said it'll open sometime next week and will be run primarily by the National Guard. Now, in terms of how many shots will be given out there, that we don't yet know. We also don't know exactly what the protocols will be for verifying that the people who come to the arena are actually eligible. But we do have new info on who will be eligible. That was the other big announcement today. As of today, like you said, Tim, we are moving into phase 1B. Now, phase 1A, of course, was healthcare workers and people in long-term care facilities. This phase 1B is divided up into 4 different sub-tiers. Right now, we're just focused on that first tier you see on your screen there. That's anyone over the age of 65. That was lowered now today from what was going to be 70, and that's in order to cover a greater number of vulnerable people. There's one other group of people who will be now eligible if you're over 50 and you live in a multi-generational household. You can see on the screen here as well all the other people included in phase 1B, mostly those working or living in congregate settings. They're not quite eligible yet. But another announcement from the governor today, once we've vaccinated at least half of the first tier, then we can move on to the latter ones. We won't have to wait for that first tier to be 100% covered. Okay, now another big theme of this announcement, increasing speed and urgency. We learned today that more than half of the vaccines that Washington has been allocated haven't actually been administered yet. That's obviously not ideal. Now that speed is increasing, but to get shots into arms faster, the state is doing a few new things. For one, like you heard earlier, increasing its goal. Second, requiring providers who get vaccines to use them all up within a week. Third, creating a vaccine command center, and 4, involving private companies, trying to find some ways for them to help. So certainly some ambitious goals announced today by the governor. The big takeaways, though, we are advancing in the phases, and soon Spokane will see a mass vaccination site at the arena. Tim?
Casey, thanks so much for breaking that down. Meanwhile, Washington state has rolled out a more robust version of an online tool that determines eligibility for the COVID-19 vaccine. Now, the survey now asks questions related to phase 1B, which has 4 tiers that include people over 70, people over 50 living in multi-generational households, high-risk critical workers, and people with underlying health conditions. Now, people can check boxes to indicate if they have cancer, diabetes, a heart condition, or a weakened immune system, or if they're an essential worker like an educator, grocery store employee, or public transit worker. If you are eligible to receive the vaccine, you can enter your name and contact information to receive a confirmation message to show a vaccination provider to determine eligibility. Now, if you are not eligible, you can still enter your contact information to be alerted when it's your turn. All right, to weather now. We've had a calm start to the week weather-wise. Today there was plenty of sunshine and temps climbing into the mid to upper 30s. Let's send things over to meteorologist Thomas Patrick in the Outdoor Weather Center. Thomas, will the sunshine continue?
Well, it's still continuing right now, Tim, because right out of the corner of my eye, I can actually see the sun in the reflection of my glasses. It's just above this fence behind me, and we've had sun all day today. An absolutely fantastic start to this week, and we'll have a decent amount of sunshine pretty much every single day, which is very much welcome sight. Even though our temperatures won't be the warmest that we've ever felt for January standards, that sunshine certainly helps a lot. High pressure area dominating the Pacific Northwest, a little bit of cloud cover moving into British Columbia, but that is not going to disturb us because that high pressure is pretty much anchored where it is right now for most of this week. So we're going to see scenes like this more often than not. A decent amount of sunshine from day to day. It's still mostly sunny right now, and our temperatures will be holding steady pretty much. We're in the mid 30s right now. Some areas in central Washington actually getting into the mid 40s this afternoon, so decently warm. We can expect that for the rest of this week. In fact, tomorrow pretty much the same, maybe a little bit more in terms of cloud cover, but we'll still get a few sun breaks from time to time. The afternoon looking nice enough, at least go the green bars on the hour-to-hour forecast as we get into the upper 30s. So when's our next chance for any kind of precipitation? Well, we will have a whole-scale pattern change that will ultimately result in snowfall for the area, but not for quite some time. So we're going to be tracking that next weather system and just what to expect, if anything, throughout the course of this week weather-wise.
All right, Thomas, thanks so much. Now a live look at the Avista outage map. Today, households throughout the inland Northwest and are still without power. Now, this is a result, of course, of last Wednesday's deadly windstorm that tore through Spokane in North Idaho. Today, Avista says 96% of their customers' power has been restored. The remaining customers without power in Spokane and Coeur d'Alene can expect to have their power restored tonight. Some customers in Kellogg may take a little bit longer. Avista says they are fully staffed. There are more than 460 people working directly on outage restoration. Most Inland Power, Kootenai Electric, and Vero Water and Power customers' power has already been restored. Well, today is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Dr. King is one of the most influential voices in the American civil rights movement. Today, marches are taking place across the United States to honor his life and legacy. Now, typically, local activists hold a march through downtown Spokane to honor him. This year, they had to adapt. Multiple organizations teamed up to serve hundreds of free hot meals. Spokane Quarantine's Rick Clark has been raising money for the community since the coronavirus hit. He connected with a restaurant owner and raised $3,000 for each of his 2 stores. With this money, they will provide meals for those struggling financially.
It just formed into this amazing group, 3 groups of people wanting to do good, all on the same day, that Dr. King would be so proud of us for getting out in the community and just feeding people, giving people cookies. Are you kidding me?
Love that. Love what they're doing. Well, today's Pools Pub will serve to-go boxes of sandwiches, drinks, and chips. They started serving food just at 4 o'clock. The regional Girl Scouts will also be there handing out boxes of cookies. If you are struggling financially and need a meal, you just need to show up and wait in line. And coming up on KREM 2 News at 5, hear what this project means to the NAACP leaders. Well, even though Spokane's annual MLK Day Unite Rally, March, and Resource Fair are canceled due to the pandemic, there are still ways to honor Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy. This morning, Spokane City Council member Betsy Wilkerson spoke to our Jen York about MLK's impact on our city and the importance of having those tough conversations.
As echoing, the voice of young people, I think that was really eye-opening for a lot of people this year, seeing that we're still seeing some of the challenges today as we were, 50, 60, hundreds of years ago. So what are some of the biggest changes that you've seen in our community this year?
First of all, how we talk about it. Before, in my generation, we just kind of kept it within our own community. Now it's out there. It is okay. We can talk about the challenges and the opportunities. We talk about our hurts. We share our hurts. Before, I did not see that happening. And I also see where systems are opening up to change and realizing it's not the system, it's the people in the systems. And so we can work through the systems, we can start getting to solutions, whether that's in employment or higher education or just in our own communities, how we engage with each other.
The pandemic altered the way we celebrate, of course, but Spokane's MLK Family Community Outreach Center and the NAACP created events for people to attend virtually. In addition to the food drives and fundraisers held by the MLK Center, there is also a 5K virtual race. Until tomorrow, the center is providing canvases for people to paint. If you return your painting by February 25th, it will be on display inside. Now, the theme is diversity, equity, and inclusion, or you can paint a portrait of Dr. King. Pretty cool. All right, we're just getting started here on First at 4. Now that COVID vaccines are being administered, we asked local experts how many people need to get it before we can go back to some sort of normal. What they said coming up. But first, we leave you with a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.